Good evening and welcome to Mental Health in the Sacred Sanctuary. I am so excited to be here with you. I'm Reverend Dr. LaTasha Morgan, and joining me tonight is our amazing parent coach, Ms. Michele Johnson. Hi, Michele.
Hi, how are you?
I am so excited about our topic. So we are bringing you Mental Health in the Sacred Sanctuary. Remember, Mental Health in the Sacred Sanctuary is a sacred space of healing centered where God dwells. And where does God dwell? Right in the center of who we are. And so we have just kind of taken over August, we being the Office of Christian Care and Counseling at Alfred Street Baptist Church. And so we've been able to bring to you a number of series around Masterclass and mental health in the sacred sanctuary. And so we're actually back for part 2. So the first time was with the team. So we invite you to go back and check that out as we navigated understanding and looking at the number of changes that we have to go through just by living, just in life, right? And so this is kind of the second part to that. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you that we are having Masterclass all month of August. So you can catch Ms. Tiffany Majette with Masterclass so that you can learn and walk through self-care with intention. And Masterclass has been airing on Fridays. So you can go back and check out the episodes that have already come out. And then you can go back and take a look at the part 1, Navigating Change, for this episode. And tonight we're going to discuss radical rest and us being able to understand that better. And so we had a whole large episode that helped us kind of walk through the various changes that we have been will experience as we move through the upcoming months. We've got the election, we've got season changing, children going back to school, right? All of those things. And we are realizing more and more that we really have to take a pause and take care of ourselves better. And so what better way to do that is to now add in this component and element around rest.
Yes.
And so we've talked a lot about self-care, but there is a piece that we don't spend enough time on, and that is understanding the power and practice of rest. So that's where we're going to dive into on tonight. So I'm going to encourage you to get your pens and notebooks so that you can take notes, because listen, we've got our notes so that we don't miss anything that we have ready and prepared for you. So when we prioritize rest and recuperation, our bodies can restore. I mean, that is science. But listen, if you grew up with Big Mama and them, you know, at least in my house, go somewhere and sat down. That was something that we heard often because they knew and understood that rest was important. Our bodies need to restore themselves. And so last time we discussed how amazingly God created our bodies. Like our bodies have a whole function from head to toe. And so when we rest, they will do what they're supposed to do, getting us into a place of sleep and REM so that actual healing, mind, body, soul, and spirit can be restored. So let's jump in, Michele.
Absolutely. And as we talk, we're going to talk about the fact that rest actually means doing nothing. I know, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
That is a hard concept,
Yeah.
but there's so much power in doing nothing.
Yeah.
So that, as you said, you can rejuvenate mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
Like we do so much all day,
So much.
every day, so many tasks. It takes a lot of energy
Yeah.
to sustain that kind of activity,
does.
right? And then the body doesn't get to do what God designed it to do. It doesn't
right.
get a chance to rejuvenate. It doesn't get a chance to let us just be able to function as humans. When you do nothing and rid yourself of distractions, you actually allow your brain to explore like creativity, your talents.
Yes.
You'll find yourself thinking about things in a different way because you're allowing yourself to do nothing.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. I saw on one of the social media platforms where a mom was being applauded because it was a electronic break for her daughter, young daughter. So she had to take the tablet away. It was time for a social media break. Daughter was not really feeling it. And if you live with a kid anywhere near your vicinity, you understand that.
Right.
But after a few moments, when she realized like the tantrum wasn't going to help, she wasn't going to get the tablet back, she began to be creative. Mm-hmm. And then she just started pulling out blocks and puzzle pieces. And before the time was over, she had created a whole masterpiece on her floor. And so the mom was being applauded because, right, like she allowed her daughter to tap into her creativity versus giving in to the pressure of, what normally soothes our children. And so the same thing applies to adults. If we step away or pull away from those things that constantly call us and need our attention, we might just have room and space to be creative. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that quiet time allows the brain to go, oh, we can actually think about something else.
Right.
Other than all the stuff that consumes us all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love that example.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you think about someone with a mental health diagnosis, specifically around generalized anxiety, right, that's the constant movement, thought, ideas, thinking about and being very overwhelmed and consumed with what's going to happen? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen? And trying to do the behavior to match the thoughts. And so just imagine, right? Persons navigating anxiety, they can't help it without the proper tools and in some cases, medication. So just imagine if they had what they need to be able to help them regulate, how much more rest would be profound for them.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And our children, right?
Yeah.
They're bombarded as much as we are today.
Sure,
where we used to go out and play and it allowed our bodies, and then we come home exhausted.
Yes.
And so we would rest.
Right.
We didn't have to pick up a tablet or a game.
Yeah.
And our bodies would then rejuvenate in our minds, and we would be well able to do something the next day.
Yeah. So I just love that idea around it being creative, and unlocking our creativity.
Absolutely.
Gosh, what could we do
if we would just
change
stop.
the world?
If we would just
stop,
get rid of
right?
the distractions.
Oh my God! All of these downloaded gifts and ideas that God has given us, we could change the world.
Absolutely.
All right, I think I'm almost there. I'm buying in.
You buying into the rest thing?
Do nothing.
Do nothing. Do nothing. Do nothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it requires sleep, though.
Okay.
Because most of the time when we hear people talk about rest, we think about sleep,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because during sleep, our brains, as we said, get to undergo some restoration.
Yes.
Some consolidation. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It helps us with memory and problem solving. It helps us to kind of work through that emotional regulation because, listen, don't catch me tired. I'm always tell the truth and I'm going to tell my business. Don't catch me tired. If you catch me tired, no telling what you're going to get because my fuse is short. My words are probably not that kind. My tone is like, it can be a problem. And so understanding that rest helps me to be able to emote in a way that is relatable and compassionate to those around me. Nobody wants to be bothered with somebody that is tired and spent, right?
Just tired.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, sleep is like house cleaning.
Okay.
Right? When you go to sleep, it's like having a housekeeper go in and clean out some things so that you have space to like organize things. Okay, well,
I love a good housekeeper. Keep talking.
So while you're sleeping, the brain is taking in all the things, maybe the new things that you learned that day, and it's organizing it for you while you're resting. When we don't sleep, besides maybe not being as kind and being able to regulate our emotions, we can't concentrate.
Okay. Makes sense.
We can't concentrate. You don't do well making decisions because your brain hasn't had time to organize that. And then, of course, what you just said, it's hard to control your emotions when you're tired.
Yeah.
That's why you can tell even when a little baby gets tired, they get antsy.
Yeah.
The temper tantrums and the crying and the tears show up, right?
Yeah.
And so sleep is important. So even though we're going to talk about rest in different ways, we don't want y'all to think you don't need sleep.
Okay.
We absolutely need some sleep.
So in your honest opinion, do you think that we're getting the recommended amount of sleep?
Ooh, I was afraid of that question. Because there's so much information out, whether it's 6 hours, 8 hours, how much. Children need way more time, right? I will say this. Most likely, whatever the number of hours are, we're not getting the recommended amount. We're not getting enough, right? And I think you have to figure out what that looks like for your body. So I know I need more than 6.
Me too.
But I don't get more than 6. I'm being honest.
I've been intentional here lately.
Oh, good. I try. And then I get distracted.
I mean, by 9 o'clock, my lids are like, I can't do it anymore.
Goals. Those are my goals.
Goals?
Yeah. I know I can't operate on less than 5.
Okay.
If you come around me at the less than 5, don't ask me any questions that require real answers. Because
you're a little mean person on the inside just start. What is your person?
Mine is not mean. Okay. Mine is just like, I don't have no answers for it. Like, I can't think. Like, you'll ask me a question, I'll go, I really don't know right now. Because my brain is like, girl, we didn't get cleaned up last night. So you can't pull that out of the right space. And you're exhausted. And so when I'm exhausted, you're not getting much out of me.
This makes a lot of sense, though, as we start thinking about trauma and thinking about, like, grief. As you're navigating, in our space, unfortunately, we walk with a lot of families navigating grief. And grief is certainly one of those spaces where people don't rest well, right? Because there is this, the removal of someone. Let's talk about the grief or death of a person, right? So someone is here, now they're not here. And now there's this immediate adjustment that has to happen, right? And that causes sadness and a range of other emotions. But what I have noticed is that people don't sleep as well. And what they say is like, don't make hard decisions during that time when you haven't had enough rest. And we're going to have a later conversation in the year about planning for service around grief, because the facts and statistics show that people make decisions they don't even realize that they're making in that most vulnerable time. So when you are sleep deprived, restless, anxious, things of that nature, right? So now, as you've just shared, we've got less of emotional control. The housekeeping piece hasn't been done. So that means dust is everywhere and all the other things that come with lack of care. Right? Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, because I don't think we think about it, right?
I don't think we think
You always
about
hear
it.
about the physical needs of sleep and the benefits of it, but there's a mental side to it also.
There is a mental side. Yeah, there is a mental side. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about rest. And so you've likely heard it said here before, that rest is a gift from God.
Absolutely.
We see multiple times in the Word where God rested, and that's starting right at the beginning, and where there are multiple occasions where Jesus is called and audible and is like, it's time to rest. In spaces and places where others felt like he should not have been resting. But God wove together rest as a part of our fabric of creation. And it reminds us to trust him. Reminds us to have trust in God, that we can stop from the daily run a show and the daily list of tasks and the daily things that we just have to do, those never-ending to-do lists, and trust God to restore us. What an amazing concept.
Yeah, and you'll hear people say balance, but it's really a rhythm. Right? So God established this rhythm of rest for us between the Sabbath and other ways. And you'll hear, as our pastor says, we take a Selah, right? There's a rhythm to rest. And once you establish that rhythm to rest, you find yourself not rushing through life. Like you intentionally create that rhythm and that rest that he gave us. He gave us the model. He gave us the example. He's like, every 7 days, you should take a break.
We should take a break.
Whether you do it on a Sunday or another day. But even if you don't do every 7 days, find your own rhythm. Find a space, actually daily. Find a daily rhythm where you actually give yourself at least enough time to just have a little bit of rest.
I just like to pause there for a moment and challenge our viewers as we challenge ourselves to think about, really, what does our rhythm look like right now?
Right.
And thinking about a drum, right? Are you the two sticks on the snare, like constantly going, keeping the pace, right? Or are you a little slower, like the bass drum, one hit at a time?
Right.
Like, what does your rhythm look like, and what changes would you like to see?
Man, that's good.
Yeah, I'm more the snare.
You moving fast.
Yeah, I'm probably the snare and the cymbal. I just kind of doing
all at the same
just
time.
doing all the things at the same time.
And the foot is moving, the pedal.
Patting my head, rubbing my tummy kind of girl. And but I'd like to be a bass drum. I like to have a slower rhythm and just kind of.
So I think it requires you to look at your routines.
Okay.
Right? Look at your schedule. I'm a very structured schedule person.
You are.
I am. I'm
You
5:30. I do that. Yeah, but it creates sometimes a little anxiety.
Yeah,
and it doesn't leave me space to rest sometimes. Right?
Because that's a great point.
And last time we said leave some space.
Yes.
Remember we said leave some space last time.
Gotta let
so
it
I
breathe.
am learning that I can still have a routine and be structured, and I'm trying to create that rhythm. Right? So if I say I'm gonna work out, I don't have to say I'm gonna be at the gym at 6 o'clock, I'm gonna be at the gym at 7 o'clock. I can say I need to be at the gym at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And the rhythm and the flow of it says, well, on this day it might be 6 o'clock. And on this day it might be 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it might not be the same days every week, but if my goal is 3 days a week, I'm still establishing a rhythm that allows me to rest.
Yeah. That's
Some
good.
days I might not be able to get up for that 6 o'clock in the morning gym class.
Right. Right. And so that's when kind of reminding ourselves about how God has created rest as this gift, this internal gift, because that will allow you to give yourself grace. Right. That'll allow you to kind of deal with that internal critic that's like, oh, you didn't do that, or that judgmental part. Oh, kind of woe is me. You should have done this. Versus God's rest is quiet and calm and non-judgmental. And encouraged to be, as you shared, like a part of our consistent daily rhythm.
Right.
You've given some amazing scriptures, so I just want to leave them with our listeners today and our viewers, our friends. Actually, I think that's what our people,
our
friends, family, community. Right. Psalm 46:10 reminds us to be still and know. Be still and know that God is present, that God has a presence, that God is on his throne, but God is with us right where we are. Be still.
Do nothing.
Do nothing. Exodus 33:12-14, God is talking to Moses here, reminding him that God's presence will go with you, and that God will give rest. And that rest will go beyond a weekly day off or vacation. That's something that's perpetual, that God's presence will manifest as rest for us. That's pretty powerful.
It is. And that when we hear things
at least
like,
for believers.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we hear things like, we can give our burdens to him so we can rest.
Yeah.
Right?
What do we choose to do?
What do we do?
Right? Yeah, we pile them up, trying to hold on to it, trying to figure it all out.
Or we give it to him and then pick it back up.
Yeah.
So, man, that be still part is a practice.
It is a practice.
Solitude and being still is a practice.
Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm going to be still for 20 minutes and you only did it for 2, that's okay.
That's okay.
Because you were still.
I'm curious. It makes me curious about where individually we've gotten off track. Right? So I have this question in my mind, like, I wonder at one point, was I able to do this?
You were.
Right? And this is not a better, best, but just have I been able to do this before? If so, where did I get off track? How did I get off track?
So I like the question. Have I been able to do it before? Right? And the challenge is, I don't know if the challenge is how did I get off track, but what is my goal?
Okay.
And when I did it before, how did it make me feel? And knowing that I have done it before. So what were the steps that I took to do it before? And how do I get that feeling back? Right?
Okay.
So all of us have gotten off
That's
track.
good work.
We
Yeah.
all distracted. Look,
Yeah.
we got phones. We got 24-hour access.
Yeah.
I was speaking to someone. I don't know if it was one of my parents or somebody, and the child was all lost because the teacher sent them to the library to get a resource.
Okay.
And the child was like, how I'm supposed to use this Dewey Decimal System because they couldn't use the book. and it was like, then the librarian just said, go to section OMN with the Dewey numbers. And the child was looking like, the child called his mama.
Oh my goodness.
Because he was like, I don't know what she's talking about, right? So how did we get off track? Like, we have all of this other stuff that we can do that will get us off track, right? So we are distracted.
We are distracted.
By
so maybe
everything
starting
else.
there.
Looking
at like what has become a distraction.
Right. Or what have I done in the past that kept me from being distracted? What is it that I can do?
I love how you're spinning the positive on this. Yep.
Because we can always focus on what we didn't do and how we're distracted. We can come up with a list, but at some point in life, we've all been still for at least 2 minutes. Somewhere. We've experienced it and we know how it made us feel on the inside. And so because we've done that, we can figure out how to recreate that feeling and we can figure out what were the steps I took. Did I turn my phone off? Did I decide I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock?
Amen to 9 o'clock bedtime.
Did I decide I'm going to meditate for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
One of my practices that I do pretty regularly is riding to work with the music off.
That part.
And I can tell it makes a big difference. I'm telling all on myself. Last time it was I didn't make the bed and do the prayers, right? But riding to work with the music off or anywhere. Sometimes I'll just turn the radio off and just ride in silence. And it just so some of these words that you used, reset. I felt reset. I felt refreshed. I felt reconnected. I felt less distracted. Just with that small thing, not having any background noise, no white noise, but just quiet, stillness.
And that's what I mean. So you were able to identify a time when you've actually been still.
Yes.
And what you did to do it. So now if you want to create more of that, you do it on the way to work. Now maybe you'll do it on the way to work and on the way home.
Yeah.
If you need more.
That's right.
You may not need more. That may be your daily rhythm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what we want you guys to do. Figure out when you've had it before.
Yeah.
How you did it.
Yeah.
You had a great example. And then where you want it to fit into your daily rhythm.
Yeah. And that will get you started.
Get you started.
So listen, there's some great information Michele would like for me. And Michele is the creator of this segment. So I want to honor the work that she has put into this. And so Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, in her book, Sacred Rest, she outlines 7 different ways or types of rest. And so we're going to talk about those and bring those to you.
Yeah.
Prayerfully, believing that it will help enhance your life. And so each of them have a unique purpose, and if incorporated or when incorporated, they certainly can significantly enhance our lives, our well-being, and making sure that we now then in our behaviors feel more energized, that we are emotionally balanced and mentally sharp. Yeah, I love that.
So we talked about 2, right?
Yep.
The main ones everybody knows, right? Not sleep. Getting more sleep, stopping activity. And all of those are significant.
Okay.
True rest is reaching that state of mind where your body can relax and recover, right? From stress. But rest is essential to good health, period. And to long-term well-being. Okay. So we're going to talk about the 7 types. Okay. And share a little bit examples. So the first one is physical rest, kind of what we've been talking about, right? Getting that sleep. And besides the brain housekeeping that goes on, it lets your muscles relax when you're asleep. So if gentle movement, even besides sleep, physical rest could be yoga. It could be leisurely walks, right? Okay. All of these things help you reduce the stress and the tension in your body. Okay. And it allows gentle movement allows that body to rest.
That's the first time I've heard that, that those are considered a means of physical or a type of physical rest.
They're stretching. I've been when you start getting old, you start realizing, what do I need to do to be here longer, right? And so those of us of a certain age realize we need to stretch.
Okay.
But what I've learned watching some people talk about stretching is there's a guy that says stretch before you go to sleep.
Oh.
Because it releases the tension in your body. He does like 4 or 5 different stretches, and it'll tell the body, hey, let's rest.
I love it.
Because if you go to bed without stretching, all that tension is still in all your muscles, and it may be a little harder for you to get to sleep.
Got it.
But the release of that through the movement allows the body to say, oh, okay, I'm going to let go.
All right, I'm adding that to my rhythm.
You adding that to your rhythm?
All right, so mental rest is next.
So our brains, as we know, are constantly taking information in. Yeah. So it's short breaks. Okay. Short mindfulness breaks. Hobbies. When you get to absorb yourself in something you enjoy, that's rest. Now, I've been school. Are you? That's pretty cool. And watch how. So you've been talking about music. You know we both are into music. Yes. Now, you want to do more with music. I just like listening to it. Anybody who knows me, if there's a concert somewhere, I'm there trying to hear it. Yeah. It soothes my soul. Yeah. But going to DJ school as a hobby, did y'all look at the smile? Look at the smile, right? Do it. So a lot of us had hobbies growing up. Yeah. And we don't have them anymore. So
that's why we forget to play. We need to forget.
Oh, yes, please play.
We can have a whole episode on that.
Yeah, we can have a whole episode. So hobbies reduce mental fatigue. Yeah. Again, creativity. And it actually enhances your focus. Yeah. I watched my daughter pick up crocheting this summer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she wanted to crochet a beanie.
Okay.
Now, y'all gotta be careful because the perfectionist side will show up. Okay. So I'm not gonna tell y'all how many times she started over. Okay. But when she sat back.
She started.
But when she sat back and relaxed, she finished her beanie.
Awesome.
And it felt good, but it was a way for her to unwind. Yeah. Right? That movement. Yes. So she got the physical movement and her brain got time to just relax because she was doing a hobby. So find a hobby. Yeah. Find something you enjoy.
And we focus a lot on breathing because we've done a number of breathing examples and exercises on mental health in the sacred sanctuary. So I love this, again, kind of gentle movement and then this mental rest that can be accompanied with hobbies to help us get out that fatigue, enhance our focus and creativity.
And get out the information overload.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to crochet, but
me either.
I am thinking about DJ school. I think
there you go. I love that. I cannot wait till she have the first party when she's the DJ. I will be there listening to the music.
We're going to turn up for 51.
There you go.
All right. So emotional rest is next.
All right. So allow yourself to express your emotions healthily. Be honest about your feelings. Stop telling people you're okay when you're not.
Oh my God. Yes, you are blessed and highly favored, but you are overworked and underpaid and you feel some kind of way about it.
That part. Right? Seek some support. Right? If you're always stressed out and anxious, emotionally not healthy, you are not resting. Yeah. You don't sleep well.
That's right.
We know that for a fact. You're up. As you said, you might be ruminating all the time. Yeah. And avoid emotionally draining situations. When you're tired.
Yes.
Don't
That's right.
get into a situation where you're going to be confrontational. Right.
I'm not going to be in a group of people, especially people that I love, because I don't want to offend them or hurt their feelings by my behavior. Right. Because my fuse is short. Right. I really love this boundary piece around emotional rest. Yes. Setting boundaries to avoid emotionally draining situations. Can I say it again for the people in the back? For the people in the back. Set boundaries.
Set boundaries. It's a form of rest.
Avoid emotionally draining situations. So now you count up the emotionally draining situations you have in your life. Situations and people and places and things, right? And what boundaries can you put into place? Because remember, boundaries are necessary to protect you, not necessarily for you to protect others. But together, your boundary and their adherence, we're going to help each other.
Yep. And that's emotional rest.
That's emotional rest. I love that.
All right.
All right. So now we have sensory rest.
So sensory rest is reducing the overload from light, noise, screens by turning off your devices embracing the quiet, dimming the lights, and maybe even just enjoying nature.
I love that.
Natural light is the best thing for you.
Yes.
Sensory rest is important. Like that part about nature, I think we talked about this a little bit. We underestimate that God created everything first before he created us.
Yeah.
Like nature was one of the first things he did, right? I've been talking to some holistic people trying to find some solutions for some things that were happening with my mom. And the first thing, the lady didn't sell me a thing. You know what she said? Open a window in her room.
Open the window.
Open the window. She needs to feel sensory rest. She needs to feel every season.
Okay.
Even in the cold, leave her window cracked. In the rain, leave her window cracked.
Okay.
Right? Sensory rest is important.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're overloaded.
Yes.
Our senses are on fire. They like stuff is coming in this way, that way. We got the lights on and they don't know how to turn them off.
Yeah.
We don't know how to put our phones down.
A-Marie, she accuses me of being too quiet because there's a rule in my house. We don't sleep with televisions on. We don't sleep with lights on. I've trained the dogs to do the same. They get in their crate and there are they do have a little night light downstairs. But we don't sleep with our telephones. She can have it during the summer, but school starts next week. So it comes in my room, right? Because I don't want her to be tempted, but it also, like, I understand the importance of that sensory overload. So I've been doing that for a very long time.
And I'm going to be honest, I go back and forth.
Okay.
I'll turn the TV off or I'll fall asleep with the TV on.
I know some TV, yeah.
Yeah. And it does make a difference. I can tell the difference in my sleep when I leave it off.
Yeah. And unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm going to say unfortunately, I'm a 70s baby. And so at a certain time during the 70s and 80s, listen, the TV went...
and you didn't have it on.
There was nothing else to watch.
And 70s baby, we didn't have TVs in our bedroom.
No, we would.
I want you to think about all of us who are over a certain age.
That big TV was in
the TV was in one place in the house.
That's right.
There were not multiple TVs all over the place till later.
And you had to get up and change the channel.
And you had to get up and move. So we both telling our age.
That's all right. We thank the Lord for blessing us with life.
So here's again.
But
we knew how to put ourselves to sleep.
Absolutely.
We knew how to turn that light off when our mama say go to bed.
That's right.
We went up to our room.
Because we didn't pay bills.
We didn't pay no bills. You better turn that light off. Ooh, we are really telling our age. We're using all the sayings that our mothers did. But yeah, we were able to put ourselves to sleep.
That's right.
We were not distracted.
So
and guess what? We slept through the night.
That's right.
At a very early
age.
And we weren't cranky when it was time to get up for school.
Yeah. And so my rebuttal to little Miss A-Marie is that, but look at how well you rested. Because as soon as those things are removed, she is out like a light. And I mean, I have to wake her up in the morning like, the sun is up, it's time to get up, right? And then she's like, okay, I feel so refreshed. Yeah, that's because you weren't in sensory overload. All right. So now creative rest.
You
like this one?
I like this one.
Yeah.
I don't have a creative bone in my body, y'all, but I like this one because it has music in it.
Okay.
Art. We talked about nature. We talked about music. Creativity, anything, new ideas that enhance your problem solving and bring joy.
I love that.
Right? So now parents, sometimes those video games are actually a form of creative rest. Right? When you pay attention to the games they're playing, because some of it is problem solving.
Okay.
Right? And some of it will bring joy, just limited, right? And you'll be surprised if they get to do something different.
Okay.
Right? What does it look like to take your child somewhere where they can be artistic?
Yes.
Right? Or yourself, right? Why do y'all think paint and sips are so popular?
Because it's an outlet of expression, a creative outlet of expression.
Yeah. And it's not only just about the sip part, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time
you are thinking about the sip part.
Right. Well, because somebody's going to say that.
Of course.
Did she really say that? She did. But I want you to focus on the art part.
Yeah.
Most of the time while you're in any of those activities like that, whether it's candle making, now if you notice, a lot of them are coming out.
They are.
You can make your own candles. You can make your own cologne and perfumes.
You can design your own tennis shoes.
You can design your own tennis shoes.
Yeah.
You can design your own lipsticks, right? And so it allows you, that's rest. It allows the creative side of you to enjoy something, a different part of the brain to work on.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, so now we've got social rest.
Social rest. Sometimes, y'all, you need a break from people.
Too much peopling?
Too much. Even extroverts. I'm an extrovert. Can you tell?
She is.
I'm a straight up extrovert. I love social situations and I love people. But even sometimes you got to take a break. Or you got to make sure you're surrounding yourself with supportive people.
Okay.
You got to be around the right kind of people. You got to distance yourself from anything that starts to drain you. Now, I'm not saying break up with your friends.
Yeah, that goes back to emotional rest, setting boundaries. You can tell I like that one. To avoid emotionally draining situations.
And again, you don't have to break up with your friends.
Okay.
But if you find yourself in a space where you need a break, take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break. Sometimes it'll actually make the friendship better.
Amen.
Because you may not be in a space where you can engage.
Yeah.
All of us have a different window of tolerance, and it changes on a day-to-day basis. And even extroverts, introverts, and people get upset when introverts pull back. Y'all, they need it.
COVID was the best thing. I mean, COVID definitely has some saddening statistics connected, but for the introvert, it was the best thing ever.
Because y'all could just be home with yourself.
And we didn't have to make no excuse about why we just were not engaging like we normally did. We were in a happy place.
So let's talk about what that sounds like with a boundary.
Okay.
Right? That's because I'm reading another book. But anyway, we lie to ourselves sometimes, and then we lie to other people.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I don't want to go out tonight, we say, oh, I got something else to do. Or just tell people the truth. It's so freeing.
It is.
And it will give you rest in your body. That peace that comes from saying the truth. Now, please do the truth with respect.
Okay.
Please make sure your timing is right.
Okay.
Like, just don't be like, girl, I don't feel like being bothered with you. Now, if it's your best friend, you can tell her, girl, I don't feel like being bothered with you today.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody else whose feelings may be hurt by that, I still want you to be honest.
So read the room first.
Read the room.
Okay.
But I still want you to be honest, but I don't want you to lie. I want you to make up something that says why you can't go.
Okay.
You can be honest and say, I really need to rest from people today.
Yeah.
And that means a boundary, right? It means it's for protecting you.
That's good.
But be honest about it.
Yeah. My at least my close friends, they know, like, I don't do a lot of talking on the phone. We're going to have one occasion a month that we try to get together and do something. Because after talking to people all day, I just don't have it in me. And now I've got to make space for soon to be 12-year-old. And I want her to talk to me because she told me the other day, Miss Michele, I told her I was going to get a job at her school as a therapist so I could have my summers off. And she was like, not my school, because I don't want you in my business.
I know that's right.
I said, well, what business do you have that I need to get into, ma'am?
That's another episode that she and I will do in parenting. It's a whole nother episode, parents. There's a little autonomy that's starting to happen around this age.
Goodness.
But that's a whole nother episode. All right. Spiritual rest, we've talked about a little bit, right? Finding meaning beyond daily routines. Whether it's your quiet, be still time in the car, through prayer, in community. I know for me, I feel better when I worship in the sanctuary than at home.
Yeah. I'm hearing, considering the space that we work in, a lot of members are now saying, like, I'm ready to get back to church. So they're ready for the month of rest to be over, because we have the month of rest here at Alfred Street during the month of August. And so come September, I imagine that we're going to have overflow and, a number of, issues when it comes to, because people are coming back. You're right.
There's a different feel when you're worshiping collectively, right? So that gives you some spiritual rest. That rejuvenates you from the inside out, right, in your spirit. And a lot of times it gives you this deep sense of calm, right? Yeah. It gives you also a renewed perspective, whether it's the be still time or the community worship time. Yeah. So that's our 7, y'all. That's a lot. 7. You got a lot to choose from. Now, nobody told you to go do all 7.
We'll put them back up so you can capture them. But start with one.
Start with one. Put it in a rhythm.
Yeah. Add it into the rhythm. Right? So we've already given you some challenge questions at the top of this episode. So now we've got the 7 steps. Pick one to begin with that you can begin adding more and more to your rhythm. We're going to give you a few tips and we're going to get out of here.
Figure out what sounds relaxing to you. So we shared a whole lot of personal examples, probably too much of our business, but that's what we do.
Listen.
Think about what's relaxing to you and then plan loosely, rhythm and flow, your moments of rest for each day. It's just an invitation to slow down.
Yeah.
Your mind, your body, and your soul will be grateful.
Yeah. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about just now the benefits of rest. And so when you rest, right, we've already kind of covered some of them. You feel happier, you feel more rejuvenated, you feel recharged, you feel like you were really taking care, like this is self-care to another level, really taking care of yourself, and it leaves you feeling fulfilled. Yeah.
And rest helps you have a healthy relationship with yourself and with others.
Yeah.
It's a non-negotiable at some point.
My goodness. I had a dear friend. She's on an amazing weight loss journey, amazing results. I'm so happy for her. However, she had an incident, had to go to the urgent care, and they told her, hey, listen, you're dehydrated and malnourished.
Doing too much.
So if we had a mental health check-in, I wonder what our therapist would say around the nourishment of our rest. We would probably easily be given a diagnosis for malnourished, being malnourished, and probably some of these would be a part of our prescription.
Absolutely. That's why it has to be non-negotiable. We have to get to the point where it's not an option. You know, there's this philosophy is like, you don't need to sleep. You need to hustle and grind. No.
Is it sleep when you die?
No.
No, I want.
No, you're going to die because you're not sleeping.
That's right.
You're going to die because you're not getting any rest.
Sleep now.
The more you rest and take care of yourself, the more nourished.
Yes.
Talk about malnourished. The more nourished you will feel, allowing you to show up as the healthiest version of yourself. Not the tired, angry person.
That's right.
Right?
That's
not
right.
I don't feel like being bothered with nobody ever person.
Yeah.
We got to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, there's something on social media or just kind of an idea kind of bouncing around being able to invest in the future or invest in generation. And so yes, you want to leave generational wealth, but what would it look like if you were able to leave emotional regulation? Like teach your children based on your actions how you can emotionally regulate, and then they learn that, and then the next generation learns that, and then they incorporate having a rhythm of rest and an understanding of these 7 practices. Like imagine.
And for the record, you're doing that now.
Yeah.
You're doing it by not.
That's right.
You're modeling the opposite.
Yeah.
And so if we don't shift, we're going to raise another generation of what I call strivers.
Yeah.
And that's why some of our mental health statistics for teens and younger around depression and anxiety are going up. Yeah. Right? Because we're not good models.
We're not.
And for the record, everybody, if y'all haven't heard me say it, you're going to have me. I'm a brain geek. I'm a neuroscience geek. Your brain literally mirrors your environment.
Yes.
So if you start modeling this rest, then kids at any age who are around you will begin to say, hey, wait a minute, my mama actually put her computer down. Yes. She actually closed it. Yeah. And she's actually like, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock. Yes. Right? And so the next generation will start to see that model, and then they get to model it for the next generation. And then we will make that change.
We will make that change. All right. So now, actually, I think that was the last one. So we had the practical tips for incorporating rest, and then we talked a little bit about benefiting rest. We've got our 7 concepts around or types of rest. Right. And we've got our challenges that we started with at the top of the episode. So if you're just joining us, that's fine. Take a minute, go back and start from the top, and you'll get that information. And so as we get ready to close this segment, of mental health in the sacred sanctuary, we want to just kind of think about like how can we engage in restful activities, right? And again, with the goal of rejuvenating ourselves, rejuvenating holistically. So that's mind, body, spirit, and soul, so that we can acknowledge that rest is necessary for us to be able to thrive through challenging times. And so our previous episode focused on us navigating through challenging changes, But we can't do that efficiently or effectively without rest as a partner or a rhythm in our lives.
Yep. So prioritizing rest, making sure you have some kind of bedtime routine. We talked about stretching. We talked about getting enough sleep for
Does
you.
crawling in the bed, falling out, is that considered a bedtime routine?
There you go. Whatever works for you to help you unwind. Make sure you get what you need so that you can rest and face each day with strength.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever form of rest, whatever form of the 7 we use. Nighttime routines help, though, because sleep is still important, right? And then when you, besides prioritizing sleep, picking one of maybe the other forms of rest that we talk about.
Okay.
Because you got to be strong to make it through.
You
got to be strong to make it through.
That's right. All right. So listen, thank you so much for joining us on this evening as we took this journey in understanding radical rest. And so we hope that you not just watch, but that you will join us as we are recalibrating our own rhythms, as we are renegotiating some must-haves that we need in our lives. We hope that you do the same. And you can shoot us an email and let us know about your progress at pastoralcounseling@alfredstreet.org. We would love to hear from you. I personally receive all of the emails to that box, and I will share it with the team. So pastoral counseling, that's all one word, at alfredstreet.org. And as we get ready to end for the evening, I'm just going to invite you to slow down. Remember that self-care is a non-negotiable. It should be non-negotiable. Go back and watch the tips from Miss Tiff, because she has done an amazing job in a 4-part segment in helping us understand self-care and the intentionality around it and the necessity of it. And remember, it's not just some of the things that we do for maintenance, going to get your nails done, getting your hair cut, but it's some other things that we can onboard where we don't need anything external to help us. We can pull it up from the inside. So self-care as rest is non-negotiable. So take care of yourself so that you can thrive. If you have any prayer requests, especially for those that are on our live chat, I just ask now that you just drop them in the chat, and I'm going to pray for us as a whole. Kind and gracious God, we thank you. First of all, we thank you for being our primary example of incorporating rest. We thank you for giving us the gift of rest, even as you were busy creating the world that we know. We thank you, oh God, for stepping out into, for just a moment, stepping out into chaos when nothing was formed and everything was here, there, and everywhere, and calling it to be. But even doing it in a way that allowed you to take pause and to look at what has been created and say it is good. We thank you, God, that you have allowed rest to be our portion. And so help us to realize and remember that we don't have to run away from it, but we can run toward it, and that there are rewards and benefits that are beyond anything that we think that we are working ourselves to the bone for. So help us. We know there are some things we just have to do. There are some things we must do. There are things and responsibilities that we have. But we also owe it to ourselves, to our bodies, to our minds, to our spirits, to our generation, to our children, to our loved ones, to those that we hold near and dear, to slow down, take a breath, and rest. And to know that we don't have to do this particular activity by ourselves, but that we can be just like the shepherd. We can be just like David in the shepherd psalm and run to the shepherd that leads us to still waters, that makes us lie down in green pastures, that cares for us in a way that helps us to move from journey to journey. We thank you, God, for this amazing, beautiful gift. And we ask, Father, that you will help us never to forget. It is in the name of Jesus Christ I pray and lift and offer this prayer and cover those prayer requests that are being lifted in this moment. Amen.
Amen.
Take care of yourselves. Until the next time, this is Mental Health in the Sacred Sanctuary. I'm Reverend Dr. LaTasha Morgan.
Michele Johnson.
And we'll see you soon.